Okay. Recording in progress. Okay. So I have some information that I'm putting together for all these chakras. It's going to be in, I believe it's going to be put into level 2, kind of with tuning forks and all of that, because we're talking about dealing with the chakras and kind of the aura stuff with tuning forks. And with tuning forks, I really dig into, for the deeper levels of the chakras, I'm diving into like the frequencies and things like that. So this isn't so much frequency work, but I think when I do a sound bath, I don't just visualize that the sound is hitting the body. I also visualize that it's clearing out the aura, that it's clearing out, all that space between us and space and all of that. So I think these things are kind of important. So we're now able to access, according to my research and all the things that I'm hearing out there, 4th and 5th dimension chakras, because the energy of the planet is raising as such, and because we're all doing more self-work and we're getting out there and helping people evolve and ascend and rise and vibrate at a higher level. By doing that, we raise the planet to a certain level. So now we're able to access things that we couldn't access before. And the 5th dimensional chakras, we don't know a whole lot about. It's complete speculation because there's not many people that are reaching those things at this point, but I'm making it my mission to connect to these 4th and 5th dimensional chakras. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so,
Becky, what's your take on what that means, the 4th and 5th dimension?
Well, what are the 4th and 5th dimension?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that actually, because the dimensions are a little confusing. And even through reading this, and I've reread it, and I'm still like, okay, it's that quantum physics things that sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but blows my brains out sometimes when I read quantum physics stuff. And I'm like, this is just so much more. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about the dimensions a little and kind of what that means. And then I'll give you guys some information on just those different chakras. And, again, it's not something that we have to while you're doing a sound bath or a sound healing, you have to I am now working on this chakra. But it's good to know that we now do have these energy centers. I mean, we know that, right? I think we know, even if we can't see things or if they're not scientifically proven yet, I feel like we all kind of know that our energy stretches in all directions, which means I think they're eventually going to find that we have all of these energy centers spreading all around us that we don't even know about, that we're just clearing out and walking through and all of that. So the upper chakras are thought to connect us to the 4th and 5th dimensions. But again, what are those dimensions? And so the first 7 chakras are generally accepted to exist in this 3rd dimension. That's where we're living right now. So as 3-dimensional beings, we find these chakras the easiest to perceive because they are in the dimension that we're living in. So from there, first of all, there exists this 0 dimension. So 0 dimension is just a solitary point. It possesses no length, no height, or any depth. It's just a point. And it's just little more than a piece of information, on or off, point or no point. But if we group together an infinity of these 0 dimensions, we would create a line, and that line is 1 dimension. So simply put, 1 dimension is a group of every possible point existing along that line. So next, we're going to group those 1-dimensional lines together, and those lines create a plane. So you take these 0 points, you group an infinity amount of those points to create a line, and then we're going to group the lines together to create a plane. And then we have 2-dimension, which is a set of every possible line on that plane we just made. You probably understand this. You look like you understand it, Ruben. So, so from there,
I'm an engineer by
okay. So from there,
that makes sense.
Okay, perfect. Good. So from there, we stack up all the 2-dimensional planes together, and they stack up to make space. And so 3D is a description of all planes in space. So that's not so difficult to visualize because we live in 3D space. But 4D, so based on Einstein's theory of relativity, the fourth dimension appears when we group all possible 3D spaces together. So if you group all the possible 3D space together, you get the fourth dimension, 4D. And this is kind of recognized as space-time or history. It's a collection of every possible position found along a timeline. So we need to consider, of course, that this is a relative, or as in relativity, because everyone's experience is different. And even our own perception of time could alter from day to day or even moment to moment. So just like everything else, it's always shifting and depends on our experience. So theoretically, if we now agree that the fourth dimension is time and therefore history, if we group together infinite numbers of history, then physics dictates that there must be many different realities all lining up. And that's kind of like, you hear people say all the time that, with certain meditations and things, that you can jump timelines, you can change your reality. So, lining up against you is all of these other possible realities. And so it's totally awesome. So many people speculate that many versions of us exist in many realities. This makes sense if you consider that all our realities are always based on decisions we make. So we settle upon a decision, we take action, and that dictates the path that takes us forward. But in reality, the fifth dimension can, at least partly, be proven both mathematically and with quantum physics by something called the Calibi-Yau. Do you know this, Ruben? The Calibi-Yau manifolds. So the Calibi-Yau manifolds is shapes that satisfy the requirement of space for the 6 unseen spatial dimensions of string theory. So this is where it gets super confusing for me, and we go into like this crazy thing of string theory and all of this. But so, since the dimensions, like fourth and fifth dimensions, since they have not really been detected at this point, it's thought that they could possibly exist in far smaller states than we are able to currently observe. So we're starting to dig into these spaces, but we are not able to access where they're at right now. And as we change and evolve, we will then be able to access those things. Let's see. Let's see. So this is currently one of the, so this fourth, fifth dimension study is currently one of the hottest areas of research existing in mathematics and physics now. So I think the more, just like sound healing and everything else, the more that we good morning. I have a couple people entering. I'm sorry, you guys. We might have to recap for a minute. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It won't hurt to hear it again.
Okay. Yeah.
Good morning, guys. I'm sorry, I'm a little late.
It was fascinating and deep.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I've been like, I really have been studying this, like just for the past couple of weeks, but like really digging into it. And every time I read it, I'm like, this is so confusing. So good morning, Nick. Good morning, Alexander.
Good morning, guys. How are you? Sorry, I'm a little late. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We're going to recap again because we kind of started. We're working through some dimensions right now, which is really confusing. So I think it would be good for us to recap
Awesome.
with everything. So we're talking about having access now to chakras 8 through 22, which we really couldn't access before because the energy of the planet was not as such. We maybe had not done as much self-work as we needed to do. So as we all collectively come together and raise the vibration of the planet, we then will start having access to all sorts of things that we didn't have access to before. So, for these chakras, they exist in fourth and fifth dimension. So I'm going to start out, we're going to just, I'm not a a physicist or anything like that. So I'm going to explain it as well as I can understand it. And I'm working through it. But so the first 7 chakras are generally accepted to exist in the 3rd dimension. And because we're 3-dimensional beings, we find these chakras the easiest to perceive. The 7 and then the 100 lesser known around our body. So let's discuss kind of all of these different things. So first, there exists the 0 dimension. So 0 dimension is a solitary point. It possesses no length, height, or any depth. It's little more than just a piece of information. And then if you group together an infinity of the 0 dimension points, you create a line. And this is 1 dimension. So bringing all these 0 dimension points together creates a line, which is 1 dimension. And 1 dimension is a group of every possible point that exists along that line. So we put all these points together and it creates a line. Next, we are going to group all these 1 dimension lines together. And this, putting all of these lines together, creates a plane. And I'm going to send you guys out a printout on this in the next couple of days when I get it all together. So don't feel like you have to super take notes. This is going to be in there. So when we group all the 1 dimension line together, this creates a plane. And that plane is now 2D. So 2D is every possible line that we put together now on that plane creates 2D. From there, we stack up all the 2D planes and together they make up space. So 3D is a description of all the planes in a space. Right? So this isn't too difficult for us to visualize because we live in a 3D space. So 4D is where it gets we get into Einstein's theory of relativity and all of that craziness. So let's bear with me on this. So based on Einstein's theory of relativity, the 4th dimension appears when we group all possible 3D spaces together. We would recognize this 4D space as time space, space-time, or history. So it's a collection of every possible position found along a timeline. We need to consider, of course, that this is relative, as in relativity, because everyone's experience is different. And indeed, even our own perception of time could alter from day to day or even moment to moment. So theoretically, if we agree that 4th dimension is time and history, if we group together infinite numbers of history, then physics dictates there must be many different realities all lining up because there's all different histories all lining up. Some people speculate that many versions of us exist in many realities. So this makes sense if you consider that our realities are always based on the decisions we make. We settle upon a decision, we take action, and that dictates the path that takes us forward. But in reality, the 5th dimension, so 4th dimension is time, space, history, and then you stack all of those 4th dimensions up, and now we get the 5th dimension. The 5th dimension can at least partly be proven, both mathematically and with quantum physics. And this is where we really get into all the quantum physics that starts to make my brain just bleh. So it can be proven by mathematically and with quantum physics by something called the Calabi-Yau manifolds. And these are shapes that satisfy the requirement of space for the 6 unseen spatial dimensions of string theory. And we are not even going to get into string theory on this Zoom call today. I'm sorry. We're just, So since the dimensions have not yet been detected, it's thought they could possibly exist in far smaller states than we are able to currently observe. And they're really doing a lot of scientific and mathematical work now to find out how big these spaces are and where we have to be able to observe them, and what conditions have to happen to be able to observe them. Let's see. So just to bend our mind maybe one more time, consider this for a moment. So grouping all possible realities. Your reality merges with your parents' reality, your siblings, your children, friends, and any other person you or they may have come into connection with. So for a moment, try to envision what this 6D plane would look like. So 6D would be grouping all of our possibilities together. Like, wow. Okay. So every reality, from your parents' reality, your siblings, your children, friends, any other person you or they have come in connection with, are all now grouping together into all these realities, which creates this now 6D dimension. An intricate and beautiful web of connectedness, all reaching out, entwining, and impacting upon us and each other. While it is unlikely actual beings exist in these other dimensions, it's highly likely that these other dimensions, fourth, fifth, and sixth, are chock full of information. Some scholars have said that the existence of the fifth dimension might explain some of the phenomena we find beyond our reach. One example might be the people born who also have like savant abilities, or especially in the arts and mathematics. There's a lot of speculation that those people are tapping into that sixth dimension where some of us just can't. So when you have those people that are born wide open, those indigo kids, right? Those people who come into this world with psychic abilities or whatever that is, you know, it is said to be, at least according to a lot of the research I've done, that those people are accessing that sixth dimension where most of us we just can't even wrap our heads about that. So it might be the seers, oracles, and savants are somehow tapping into data leaking from other dimensions. Like, I think that's so cool. I feel like I would really like to pick up on more information leaking out from the other dimensions. And I feel like the more I do this work, the more I'm picking up on things. So if all of that is true, it could be because their third dimension chakras come into alignment and then open their fourth or even fifth without any particular work, and they are able to read the information being made available to them. So where we have to kind of work at really reading those things, there are some people that just, bam, this third dimension lines up, which gives them access to the fourth and the fifth and all of that along. So, you know, hopefully with all the work we're doing, all the sound healing and raising will one day, I think our chakras are in alignment, maybe more than other people in the world. We're doing the work on a more consistent basis. So who knows, if you guys start to feel fourth and fifth and sixth dimension energies leaking into you, let me know, and we'll have to study it. We'll have to talk about it. So just one more thing before we kind of move on. At the beginning, you know, we talk about how a chakra can dysfunction. We talk about that in level 1. And we look at the chakras kind of like a cone. They're always talked about kind of a cone shape that comes out. But it's likely that our three-dimensional reality only allows us to perceive it that way. So in the same way, we are only aware of one concrete 4D reality, which is a black hole. Because we exist in 3D reality, we can only perceive a slice across the plane. So we see it as a spiral, but extensive research shows it is more likely a sphere. So I think instead of thinking of our chakras as cones, when we start to get into the higher realities, they're actually spheres. So they have front and back dimensions, which we know, but they also have side dimensions. So instead of just spinning like a wheel, they're more spinning like a ball of energy. They're a sphere of energy. So we talk about a spinning wheel or a disc, which I guess is kind of, but I think sphere is more what we're looking for there. So chakras 8 through 15 pertain to how we can impact our existence in the fourth dimension. So that is space and time. And chakras 16 through 22 are thought to operate upon how we can interact on events and circumstances that may be possibilities with other realities. We're really getting up there, you guys. We are entering into the shamanic vibrations. Leaving behind the concerns of the physical body, we're entering a space where we exist as timeless light. Since there is no longer connection in the third dimension, the relationship with the physical body weakens, and we no longer sense the connection with the endocrine glands when we work with the outer chakras. So, when we start to do that work, this connection weakens and we're able to really lift up into those realities. And there's different meditations that you can do. I'll actually send out like a link with, and I think I would have to email it. I'll probably email it to all of you. I'll probably email it to all of the master students, because then you can click on the link and it'll take you to the YouTube meditation that helps you kind of work on those individual chakras, because I don't really have any way to, if I just put the link in there, I think you guys could click on them and do the meditations that you wanted to do. So chakra 8 starts just above. I think we sometimes refer to it as the soul star. I think that's kind of the shaman term, is the soul star, but it's actually considered the higher heart. The color of this chakra is turquoise. And as we enter the fourth dimension of time space, this is the first time we have access to the timeless nature of the soul. The seat of the soul is thought to be found in chakra 8. You may be able to discern it about a foot above the head. Different from the spirit is thought to reside in the aura. The soul is believed to be the part of you reincarnated through many lifetimes. For many, we spend our time on a quest to learn our purpose in life. Perhaps, though, if we are invested in accessing our more spiritual realms, freeing our soul matrix might be a more successful endeavor. So maybe instead of finding out our life's purpose, maybe we need to start accessing these things to really gain what our true nature is. Each individual consciousness originates from the eternal God source, but carries a completely unique code which encodes our individual purpose. During a successful timeline, we learn, evolve, and experience as many opportunities as we can to understand what might make up our own soul blueprint. In its fullest expression, it encompasses a triptych of our creative imagination, how receptive we are to new experiences and wisdom, and our perception of what life is like. The soul acts as a repository for all knowledge and experience gained through its many incarnations and records the memories of our consciousness. So this is doing quite a bit right here. In shamanic teachings, this chakra is known as the soul star. So then we move up a little bit to chakra 9, which is the atomic doorway. And the color of this is green. And this chakra draws together the entirety of the values of the 7 chakras of the third dimension, encompassing a blueprint that makes up you at any given time. You can usually find this about 8 to 10 inches above chakra 8. Activating all the skills encapsulated in the crown chakra, it overlays that person with all the acquired skills that have been left behind by the residual karmic experiences. Seeing auras, telepathy, hearing, healing plants, lucid dreaming, out-of-body traveling, any of which may have been learned and stored from other lifetimes. This is where we access those things. This is the gateway to our universes, to the Akashic records of everything that ever was and ever will be, and to one's spirit guides. This is where truth lives, absolute truth, unsullied by perception, agenda, or ego. Chakra 9 acts like a transformer, drawing information from the plant world and siphoning it down through the crown. It is through this chakra that, rather than simply feeling a sense of community with one's fellow man, we start to acknowledge that other forms of life might be useful allies also. So that is chakra 9. So chakra 10 is the solar star. Instead of the soul star, the solar star. And the color of this chakra is pearl. And so for this one, 8 and 9 climbed above our heads, but 10 is found below the feet. So for 10, I think I have always heard of this as the earth star chakra. And now they are, according to a lot of my findings, and again, I'm not creating this wheel. I'm just doing my own research and grouping together what other people have had to say. So Now chakra 10 is down at the below the feet, the solar star. So work downwards. And it's about a foot down below your feet. In someone new to the spiritual pathway, the disturbance in your pendulum will be small, but as they work on their psychic abilities, you will have no doubt see the power begin to increase. Clearly, working this area will also help to accelerate anybody's dormant abilities. As the fourth dimension chakras begin to activate, they will eventually take the place of those in the third dimension. In other words, we begin to operate at a higher vibration. So should 10 begin to open, a person begins to be able to use and control the residual karmic skills they remembered from other incarnations, like seeing auras or telepathy, for instance. They have accessed the data and integrated it, but the on switch cannot be executed until the male and female energies have been completely aligned. It's useful to remember that the even number chakras will activate skills housed in the odd ones. So the even number chakras activate the skills housed in the odd number chakras. That was the first time I had come across that information. I actually found that to be really cool and useful. So that means that if there is some trauma locked in 9, it won't be until you have fully integrated that part of your journey and activated number 10 that you will be able to access 9 to try to heal it. The roads are just not in place to get there. So we have to align them, and sometimes they have to align out of order to activate them together. It's getting confusing now, folks. So to move forward from 9 to 10 demands careful work on the active masculine element with the passive female, and this can only happen if the heart chakra in the third dimensional chakras is entirely balanced. Pretty neat, right? How all of these things are now starting to really flow together. Merging masculine and feminine allows us to descend past the confines of this lifetime and integrate the lessons of the soul. Narcissus, a particularly unpleasant oil that, to use topically, has a fragrance that lends us to the other side of the mirror. So we're able to dispassionately assess which parts of us have been acquired through this lifetime and might be discarded, and those which belong to a far bigger plan. Once identified, we are better placed to liberate the soul matrix and work out how these qualities can better serve this lifetime. So, you know, there's lots of different essential oils that you can use to get there. I kind of stuck in that Narcissus because you can use it topically, and that fragrance can really help get you into the space that you need to be. So yeah, so that's chakra 10, that's below the feet. So then chakra 11 is the galactic chakra. And chakras 11 and 12 are located on the palms of the hand. 11, the color of 11 is orange rose. And chakra 11 corresponds to the solar plexus chakra in the third dimension of identity and worthiness, and is part of the shamanic skills of moving outside of time and space, telekinesis, or instantaneous precipitation of thoughts. The information was encoded at 10, and then through practice, this chakra can make this manifest. But again, the solar plexus chakra holds the on and off switch. If the solar plexus chakra is out of alignment, you will not be able to access chakra 11, okay? Because they're connected. It is through this chakra we can diminish the effects of past and present trauma. As we saw in the last polarity, a person will need to reach. Oh, okay. So when we saw that you have to activate, you have to heal 9 to activate those things. So a person will need to reach 12 to be able to heal the disturbances at 11. All of this gets really complicated, and I think I need to figure out a better way to put this all together so it's not so confusing. Potentially, it may be this chakra that influenced the Renaissance painting of the golden halos. And let's see. Okay, so chakra 12 is the Earth Star, which I always thought that the Earth Star was the one that was below the feet. That's what I always learned in a lot of the readings that I've done in my tuning fork teachings. The Earth Star is the one that's kind of like just below the feet. But you know, they have different names for different things. So this is bright gold, chakra 12, connection with the monad, the part of us acting as the observer, complete detachment, neutral assessment, observation, and impartial conclusions. Potentially, it may be this chakra. I'm sorry, I put in the Renaissance paintings, but that was the wrong thing. That got copied into the wrong thing. I'm sorry about that. Potentially, it may be that this chakra that influenced the Renaissance painting of the golden halos. This is that golden, that bright golden color. We can see how this might be a fundamental healing tool where we can step outside of our emotions about an event and see how it could play out. There are some different essential oils, but hemp is really good for this chakra. You know, it leaves behind the THC and its pals. It is the terpenes that pass through distillation and work at an entirely different level. That's where that hemp oil comes in. Using hemp oil takes you to a place where you become the observer. There you can view your own history dispassionately and are able to objectively see the other person's point of view. This oil connects to the Akashic records and allows you to view the entirety of history at will. So using hemp oil for that 12th chakra activation helps you get into that space. Chakra 13 and for chakra 12, I couldn't find that there was any location on the body, or I couldn't find anything that told me where chakra 12 was located. So I'm sorry about this. I will get back to you. I've been doing the research and trying to figure it out, but you know, I don't know where it's located, but I'll make sure to find out for you. So chakra 13 is the universal mother, or the earth core. It is located outside of the body, slightly outside of the body, and about an arm's length in front. So it's kind of like out here. Unlike the other chakras, this one cannot be blocked, but instead our awareness of it can. It is unconditional love and joy. The symbol of this chakra is the rose, and its presence outside of the body explains why sometimes the green chakra can be construed as pink in its highest vibration. From the 13th chakra upwards in the connection to the higher self, so here the veil between the spiritual realms and the physical body are at their thinnest. This chakra enables vibrational healing to take place. It opens our hearts and senses to hear the resonance of other beings and is especially useful for healing. And the color of this chakra is pink violet. Holy basil is a great essential oil for this chakra, the feminine counterpart to the masculine sweet basil. Holy basil is the manifestation of the goddess Lakshmi. Her energy is entirely sattvic, pure, sublime, and divine. And then chakra 14 is the universal sun. The color of this chakra is dark bluish violet. And it disengages the mind and the ego and allows us to perceive the divine plan. When chakra 14 activates, we can see the connections and understand their synchronicity. We can say the difference of I imagine to I know. This is the first point of clairsentience in the fourth dimension and is the higher octave of the third eye in the third dimension. Standard literature suggests this chakra can only be activated if the third eye chakra is balanced. But I don't know, you know, there's a lot of speculation in there, and a lot of reading that I have read is someone said that this chakra can only be activated, but most practitioners that I've read their information on these chakras say they're not sure if that's actually true. a lot of them think that if the third eye is jammed open, information leaks through, and that's where we see delusions, paranoia, and we hear voices. So it's not necessarily all about that. So, but I think for our purposes, this chakra is controlled by the third eye, and that it enables us to switch it off and on as well. A good essential oil for this chakra is violet leaf, which technically is not an essential oil, but it's an absolute. So any work with violet is special. And there used to be a violet resinoid that was just like staring into a crystal ball, but no one seems to make that violet resinoid anymore. But the leaf is gentle, it's more Christ-like, and feels like you are protected by nuns. So it's a great kind of a great essential oil to kind of really get into that space. Chakra 15 is the universal father. The color is a soft gold white. The higher octave of the crown chakra, this is where we begin to merge with that monad energy, that observer energy. We become something outside of ourselves, something part of a much larger reality. This is the highest point that most people have ever observed anyone working to. All the chakras are working and ascension starts to begin. So all of these, the chakras 1 through 14 are all activated. You're accessing them. They're all working. They're all flowing. And this is where we start to ascend in this 15th chakra. So essential oils for chakra 15 is neroli. Neroli floats us into ethereal peace. And so it's a great scent to really get you into that ethereal space, that space. And now for chakras 16 and above, all of this information is speculation from everyone. And it seems like everyone is kind of drawing from one source. So whoever initially wrote the information about these chakras, this seems to be what everyone is sharing. Now, whether this information is correct or not, who's going to know? Unless one of us actually gets up into those chakras, we're never going to know. So, you know, I wanted to kind of touch base on these chakras today because I just wanted to put it out there that this is a reality that exists to us now. And I've had a lot of clients asking me about these chakras and, oh, when we do sound healing, are we working into these new chakras now? How do we balance out these new chakras? What do we do with these new chakras? So I really wanted to, and we're going to go through 6 through 22, but there is very little information about. And again, this is all speculation, but I think we do know for a fact that these chakras do exist. I think we can sense that they exist. But I think this 5D and 6D is what really those physicists, those quantum physicists, I think that's what they're really focusing on is how do we determine that these exist and what exactly are the characteristics of them? So all of this is speculation. But again, if I can open your minds to the possibility that, and I feel like I have always treated, especially when I'm running a bowl up the body, I always imagine that energy stretching into the universe. And then when I start to move that bowl back down the body, I imagine myself pulling that energy from that universal existence back down into the body. And then I ground it into that, what I was calling the soul star, the earth star, but grounding it into there and then down into Mother Earth. So I've kind of always tried to think an expansion of that, but I also think we're going to start thinking an expansion of everywhere. I think we're going to start getting into things that we just can't even, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around some of the theories in these chakras. So we'll see how it goes. So chakra 16, the color is a soft violet white. And this is a 5th, we just went through the 4th dimension chakras. So chakra 16 starts us into the 5th dimension. And this is the chakra where a decision needs to take place. This marks the gateway to ascension. Do you decide to stay living on this material plane or plan your ascent to merge with oneness? Chakra 17, the color is white, and it unites the learning of the chakras in the 4th dimension and brings about an ability to sense everything that ever was and that which is yet to come. Chakra 18 is golden rose, and this exists in the 6th dimension and does not correlate with any of the preceding chakras in either the 4th or the 5th dimensions, but instead speaks to the galactic self. So chakra 18 is a 6th dimension chakra that speaks to the galactic self. This opens a portal for those who use it to channel information from the ascended masters back to our reality, should they choose to do so. We are now in the realms of that Calabi-Yau manifolds with all of the planes and the holes. And where do the ascended masters hide? And just how small is the reality that holds them in the 6th dimension? Who knows? We have to explore that for ourselves. Chakra 19 connects us. The color of chakra 19 is magenta, and it connects us to Christ consciousness of the monad, and we can remove all attachments in the 3rd dimension that no longer serve our highest good. Chakra 20 is golden violet, and this chakra is related to the I am. Your relationship with God now changes. Until this point, the divine seems elevated and superior, but at chakra 20, you begin to understand you have a responsibility to co-rule with the Godhead and to expand your communication through the brightness of light. In the 3rd dimension, we need to communicate through sound, but here, sound becomes obsolete since all communication is sent as love. Like that. Chakra 21 is a golden blue, and it correlates in part to the 3rd eye. But here, rather than perceiving other realities, you become part of the vision and the knowing of those other realities. And then chakra 22 is platinum, which I think seems about right. And it relates to the 5th dimension crown chakra. And it is here where we can access and find the angels. Whew. New chakras. You know, to be perfectly honest with you, I am still learning them myself. But I feel like they're coming up in conversation, at least with my clients and my sound students. And these questions about these chakras are coming up more and more and more and more. So I wanted to get you guys out some information. It's something that I still need to work with, I feel like, to even understand them completely myself. But I've started doing some of the meditations to access kind of the lower ones. I'm going to try to work my way up and through. So again, I'm hoping that over the weekend, because we're teaching in Houston, but I have some downtime in the evenings, I'm going to put together a list of links that you guys can click on to go to the different meditations. I don't have, you know, copyright stuff through YouTube. I'm going to copy the links and give everything you need, but it will take you to their YouTube meditations. And I will print off these, and I'm hoping to find, I've been looking to find like a picture that can lay out how they stretch up and where they are on the body and what color they are. But every time I find one, it's in this little tiny format, and I can't figure out how to make it bigger so that if I print it off or send it to you guys, you can see it and look at it. So, any questions, anything you guys want to talk about? Does anybody feel like they've ever accessed one of these chakras before? Maybe by accident, or have you been working on reaching into those higher realms? Stu, you do a lot of classes and stuff. Do you guys work on any of those? Maybe you don't call them those chakras, but have you been working into those higher dimensions?
So it's interesting, definitely. There's the lady, Mary Reed. It's definitely into the Christ consciousness. And she does a meditation every Wednesday, the 12th chakra, as you're calling it there. And they have a meditation on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and they go through it, and she brings it up. And she has several books on the subject.
I love it. And her name is Mary Reed?
Mary Reed, R-E-E-D. Yeah,
Okay.
Mary Reed.
I'm gonna grab a pen.
Yeah, and you definitely you want to check her out if you're interested in that. Now, there's a couple of things on uh, just as you search and sift through there, and there's pictures. I looked at a couple of pictures. I can't find one where the Earth star is underneath. Usually, the 10th chakra is kind of stretching over and above, which would be interesting if I could see that link. But the one has Alice A. Bailey, and I love the consciousness of an atom.
Yeah.
That she has so many of these books that were 1920s theosophy. Madame Blavatsky. They're so far ahead of their time, but
For
she
sure.
does this commentary of the consciousness of an atom and how that transcends, up through the chakras, and everything is really energy and vibration. But 1920s, and now here we are 100 years later, kind of digging and delving a little bit into that.
For
So yeah, we
sure.
do, but yeah,
And saying that
meditations.
they're new concepts, right? But they're not, obviously, if they were kind of knocking them around in the 20s. I mean,
Theosophy was there doing all this work, and 1890, Madame Blavatsky, if you check her out, but Alice A. Bailey, she has 23, 24 books basically on this topic, energy work, astrology, the different chakras and how they relate. There's several people there, but yeah, it's really fascinating to read about it. I've really never dug deep until the 12th, the Christ consciousness, and I've done
mhm.
several meditations with Mary Reed, and it's fascinating. And she kind of talks it as there's a collective, and there's this group of beings that really watch out over humanity, and that's what she taps into.
I
But
love
it's
that.
called the Christ consciousness, Mary Reed. But
That's awesome. I love
I'll
it.
let
That's cool. I'm definitely going to check her out. And for anybody else, Nick and Alex, Mary Reed might be, if you're interested in these upper chakras. I'm going to do some research also, but I think you could come at it, right? She comes at it from the atoms, right? So I think you could come at it from all sorts of different, whatever fires you up. You could come at it from whatever, but it is interesting that we have all these energy centers. And I think we all know we have them. We just don't, we maybe don't access them, or we are accessing them. We just don't know that we are. So I've never done a Christ consciousness meditation, but I would imagine that it's probably pretty powerful.
It's definitely intense, and it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, well, good. Maybe I'll put a link in there too for that as well. Nick, do you have any questions, my dear? She might not be able to talk to us. I see her face. Okay. What about,
I do.
oh, yeah, Alex,
Sorry,
what you
I'm
got?
having some technical difficulties.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, good. I was like, maybe she can't talk to us.
Let's see if that comes through.
Okay. That's okay, Nick. We're happy you're here. There is a chat. There's a chat feature. Oh, Stu sent us something in the chat, you guys. Perfect. Thank you, Stu. Nick, if you have any questions, if you want to type them into the chat, I can certainly answer them. Or if you have anything you want to add, we can get at you from the chat. So feel free to, I have my chat box open. So, okay, Mr. Alex.
Well, the first question is that do I have to start saving to buy 15 extra balls?
No, no.
No, I'm just
No.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Have like 22 balls now.
I think what
Yeah.
this teaches us is that we have to do the work to be aligned in the third dimension before we can
Right.
really ascend into the higher things, right? So
Right.
I think what I got out of all of that is that all of these things are tied into these higher things. And if one isn't, and these are the on-off switch, I feel like for these is what it sounds like. So if these aren't in alignment, then these can't be turned on. So I think as long as we keep doing the work here, we can
Got it.
hopefully start doing the work here. So yeah,
Well,
I think
well,
it's all
that would
about
be my-
balance.
Actually, that would be my question. It's just that, I mean, I kind of heard that we had no more than 7 chakras. I didn't know that we had like 22 per se, and the locations and I mean, there was you do have to like somehow send that information to us because there's so much there to unpack.
For
But
sure.
just like
Yes.
yeah, but just like the interesting part for me is just like and the more that we learn, the more we study and really gain more knowledge. How do we apply the techniques, right? The sound bowl, sound healing and the vibrational, and tap into those other chakras when we apply, helping our clients.
I think you could give them meditations that they could do when they go home. I think that you could, as far as like I was saying, when I do a sound healing on someone, I no longer, like I used to just really just focus on, like imagining that those vibrations and sound are just getting into the body. But now I really set my intention that that sound is going to reach all the infinite possibilities of this person and all the infinite possibilities of energy and time and space. And I just feel the sound. I imagine the sound waves and the vibration hitting that person, but also just accessing and vibrating into every part of their being. And I think that these chakras and these higher energies are all part of our beings, right? And eventually the being falls away and we end up just there, but we're still, for now, here in this third dimension. So for me, I feel like I haven't really done too much work with my clients on these higher chakras. I feel like they're more for our own personal connections and things. So I feel like we're helping our clients by keeping this work balanced and active and free of that dense energy. And so I think by doing the work here on this plane and this body and the things that we know we're affecting with our sound tools and our meditations, by doing the work here, it allows us to access the more, right? I think that's just true of everything. The more self-work we do, the more our vibration raises, the more we have access to other things. We've all probably experienced that in our journeys on this planet. And so for me, I believe that when I set my intention now more as the whole being, and I feel like by saying that I'm doing the whole being, I'm taking out the limitations of third dimension here. So I am now trying to picture my clients as third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional beings, even if I can't see that, even if I can't. So when I'm setting my intention for my sound healing, I am setting the intention that I am helping to balance all of those dimensions, and that all of those dimensions are helping to balance out this third dimensional being. And I kind of picture it as this like ebb and flow of information and energy. I don't know if that's the correct way to look at it. I feel like in my head, that's what makes sense. And I feel like I'm going to have no way. I do not have those clairsentient abilities where I can see auras or I feel energy and I feel those things. So for me, I'm just trying to look at my clients now as more than just what I'm seeing on this third dimension. And I find that now that I'm doing that, I'm hoping that my expansion into them helps their expansion into them. Does that make sense? Okay.
It does definitely. No, and again, there's so much to learn, and there's so much information out there. The Akashic records also, it's fascinating. I think they are almost like everything's kind of interconnected in a way. I did know. I think most of you guys know I'm from Brazil, so a friend of mine in Brazil referred this lady that she does like the Akashic records, and she was just like, I did a session with her, and it's just fascinating, like the information that she provided, and she even started now mentioning about like the Arcturian angels, which is more the galactic, and then I was doing somewhat quick research on them, and then somehow they like galactic beings that just like being protecting and sending vibrations and teachings to us, right? And somehow they were the ones just like, and again, I don't know if that's the information it's true, but just like they have send information to us about like the quantum, the sacred geometry, and so I think somehow once we start tap into that kind of information and learn more in depth about these beings and how they are like channeling information in healing, right?
For
To
sure.
us, how we can just like, apply on our sessions for our clients.
For sure. And I think it's just finding those things that resonate with you. I think that sometimes when I read something, I go, is this true? And then I have to really like sit and kind of go, okay, does this make sense? Because sometimes you read something and it's so far out of that I have to go, but then if I really sit and think on it, like, is it a possibility? I think even just thinking out, I think what this whole thing is about, for me anyway, is opening up to the possibility of new chakras or new dimensions or being able to access the Akashic records opens my mind. And as long as now that I can expand my mind, I can now expand how I work with people, right? So every time we learn something new or we go, oh, the Akashic records and this, and cool, I could affect this, you now will start to work differently, right? Because now you have access to all this. So that's what all this learning is all about, right? Is learning new things that resonate with us and going, okay, cool. Now how can I introduce this into my sound healings, and how can I introduce this into my meditations and my coaching and all of that? So I think we're never going to know, right? I mean, I like to think that we know, and I like to think that like I have journeyed to the to access my Akashic records, and I believe that that journey did take place. I believe that that happened, but did it? I don't know. Was it just an implanted thought? And I don't know, but I like to think that it did. And the energy and the knowledge that I gained from that helps me move forward in a different way. So when I do a new meditation, say for one of these chakras, it helps me to go, oh, I never thought about stuff like that, or and now it helps me move forward in a more expanded way. So I think we just need to look at all of this as the more knowledge we gain, the more expansive we can be, and the more our intention can just be, because I feel like sometimes we want our intentions to be these bullet pointed, intentions, but sometimes I think our intentions need to be more broad to encompass all of these energies and all of these things that makes up a person, right? So I love that. And I think the more, if you find something like the Akashic records and that interests you, dig into that and figure out what you have to do and what that even means and what those even are, because you hear about people talking about the Akashic records all the time, and some people are like, whatever, that's BS, and some people are like, heck yeah. So I think, Stu, you've done a lot of stuff with the Akashic stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt a little bit with just
Okay.
about everything from a knowledge standpoint. And I
Yeah.
guess eventually you try to learn and learn more and more, but eventually you need to get into the feeling, the intuitive part of it. So
Yeah.
accepting and expanding and growing, definitely is
Yeah.
the key, the goal. At least I've tried to, especially the last maybe 5 years. But there's so much information. The Mary Reed book,
Everything.
I'll bring Mary Reed's. I think I have both of them. I'll bring them with me. If I can find Alice Bailey's Consciousness of Adam, I'll
Oh,
bring the
yeah.
Clearwater with me.
Awesome. Cool, cool. That
Yeah,
would be
there's
great.
so much information out there, and there's not 22. Supposedly there's a seventh dimension. It's like 30, 32, 34.
Gosh, can you even
It just
imagine what that looks like, or
I
what
was trying to figure like
that's
when you're doing your work, and personally, I'm not a healer. I bring in the energies from the east, the west, the north, the south, whatever, up, down, the heavens and through.
yeah,
And
you're the conduit.
that's what I'm hollow bone
Mhm.
trying to do that. So I don't say I don't heal. That's something that is there, the energy that heals. So I try to take it like that. And there's so much more that I don't know. And the older I get, the more I say, oh, I learn it, and then I think, oh, can I feel it? And then when I feel it, like,
Mhm.
that's what I want. So
Yeah, I love that. So I think if you guys are interested at all in exploring these upper chakras, do meditations. And like Stu said, maybe work a chakra at a time and go, okay, can I feel this? What can I feel like I access this? What is this? What is this all about? But then also feel into whether that information makes sense to you or not. I feel like sometimes when I read things, I'm like, maybe not. But then I will check other sources. And if 10 people are saying the same things, I wonder, are they all getting it from the same source, or
Mm.
do they all believe the same thing? So I think we have to read things and discern for ourselves whether we believe them or whether but I think as far as sound healing goes, I don't know that we necessarily in a group sound bath or even in a private sound bath that you would focus on these higher realm chakras. I think you're going to be doing that anyway. I feel like it's just like the chakras on the body. You're going to be affecting every single one. And if you can set your intention, or now your mind has been expanded to, you now know these chakras are out there. So now you have expanded in your way of thinking. So now when you go into a sound bath, even if you're not going to focus on those chakras, which you're probably not going to, but you will have them in mind. And I guarantee you that by having them in mind and knowing that they exist, you will now be working on them in some way. I do believe that for me, in how I work, I believe that that's how it works. So now we have the knowing of that thing now. So I think it's just like the Akashic records or any other thing. We now know that that's out there. Okay, cool. What does that mean? And that expands us in some way. So I think if you want to know what digging into those chakras is all about, you have to do it for yourself. So I'll send you the meditations and things. And Alex, if you feel like you want to go exploring, then you can. I think I have started already. I've started doing the different meditations, and I feel like at some point I'm going to probably drop out and be like, okay, all right, this is, it's cool. And I believe this, but this might be getting to be a little too much for me. So, but I have to make that also, but I want to experience that too, so that I know what my clients are experiencing, because you might have a client come in and say, I've been to a sound bath, because I have people who are like, I went to a sound bath, I started seeing colors, and now I feel like something has opened inside of me. Like, awesome. So now maybe they want to start exploring those things for themselves. And you could always steer your clients into, you really should research these chakras. You really should start, maybe start doing some meditations, and, give your clients homework to do. I give my clients homework to research and do all the time. Because here's the thing, you guys know, even in this program, you cannot learn something unless you really research it yourself. I can give you all the information on drums and gongs and flutes and tuning forks. I can hand you the information and say, here you go, learn it. But until you research it yourself and you find those things that resonate within you, you can't, it's hard to really connect into those things. So, do the research. There's like Stu said, they've been doing this research since the 20s. There has to be stuff out there, although we probably swept it under the rug a little and like, oh, this lady was crazy. She's talking about some upper dimensions and chakras. We're gonna, so yeah. So I think I wanted you guys to be aware that this is out there if you weren't aware. And if you are, then awesome. But also just to expand your thinking now. Now, hopefully you're going to look at a person that's laying on your table as not just a third dimensional being, which I think we weren't really either, but now you can look at them as this expanded, oh my gosh, there's energy centers everywhere. And who's to say that there aren't 1,000 chakras that we just don't even know about, that are everywhere, that surround us in a sphere and that take us into, who even knows? So, and who knows what that would look like if we even could access all of that. Maybe we wouldn't even be solid forms anymore. Maybe we would just be energy or any of that. So I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat, but
well, there's so much more for us to talk about,
oh my gosh.
clear water. Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
fascinating that just like, I appreciate you being actually expanding our knowledge on that subject, because even like, like people say, like, listen, you start tap into some information and when you're ready, right? So whatever will trigger you to like, dive into this research and be sharing with us. Now you like expanding, at least for me, my mind is just like, explore more now, research more. So just like, it's almost like okay, you did your work on your white belt. Now you're ready to go to the next belt, right? So you just you did your work with the 7 chakras, and now just like, there's so much more that just, it's opening those gates for you to just explore the 8th, 10th, 15th, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And planting those seeds. Now, at least it still seems to be more advanced now. all this
Stu
information
is
that you
just a
share.
constant learner of everything. He's out there just learning all the time. Stu makes me tired. I see the things he's doing. I'm like, he's out there doing another thing. I'm exhausted. Stu is making me tired. Stu is I think that Stu has probably been this person his whole life. He probably knows everything about everything, just everything. That's
which is fascinating, and I appreciate also sharing with us too. You know,
for
I
sure.
can't wait to meet you in person, and but it's like no,
Oh, you two have never met in person?
no,
No, we
This
will,
is going to
though.
be the greatest thing that's ever happened.
I know.
I love
It's
it.
just like it'd be awesome. I can't wait.
Yay. Excellent. Stu
It'll be
is
fascinating.
really cool, and Stu knows a lot. So he's a good resource for lots of things. Stu knows
Right.
Oh,
Stu knows a lot. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well, good. And you know, this expands my mind too. And teaching you guys helps me look outside the box too, because I always want to make sure that we're on the cutting edge of the things that are out there. I want you guys to have the information, you know, and I'm learning it too. So this maybe wasn't the best presentation of the 22 chakras. I apologize for anything I
that's
didn't
fine.
know, but I am learning them also. And there's not concrete, solid information out there. I think it's just whatever we believe and what resonates with us. So you
For
know,
sure.
I hope that this is just a starting point. If you feel like you want to dig into these things more, I think just like all the other chakras, there's so many different information on each one, but you know, we don't need to dive into all of that, just like in the regular chakras. If that resonates with you and chakra work is where you want to devote then do that. For me, the chakras play a role, but I want to look more at a big picture sort of thing. So I try not to get too hung up in one spot too long with because I want to keep expanding and moving and all of that. So I'll always try to keep finding new weird things that we can talk about, woo-woo things, as Bill would say, that we can talk about that maybe Bill would never talk about, but I'll get you guys out there on the woo-woo plane a little bit and we'll see how it goes. Is anybody having any issues with, I'm sure you guys are still working through the portals and stuff, but maybe not, maybe you guys are already done. And any questions, any sound bath questions? Have you guys had anything come up that you needed and any information on, anything you guys want to talk about before we?
I haven't seen is it level 3 up yet on the?
You know, here's the thing about level 3. I think some of it is up, but when we created level 2, we really did that kind of just came out of the earth and just formed into this. And so Bill and I are sitting down this weekend and we're going to talk about, we want to shift some stuff to level 2 because it seems like it fits more in line with that. And then with level 3, we're just trying to figure out what information we want to keep in there, what information doesn't seem like it really needs to be in there. And also, one thing that we really talked about is like for level 3, you guys are going to master 2 instruments, and we want to give you some information on those instruments and things, but really it's about you doing the research and finding what resonates with you. So we've written those programs, like Bill has a ton of information on gongs and drums, and I have written more information on deeper diving into like tuning forks, which is now in level 2 but was in level 3. So we give you that information still, but part of that program now is going to be, we want you guys to do your own research on the instruments that interest you, because you're going to be teaching from your perspective. So we're giving you the information from our perspective. What resonates with me, what resonates with Bill, that's what you're getting. But we want you guys to learn how to do research, which you guys are maybe already doing, but some people haven't, right? So that you could write your own program. Like if you wanted to write a program on gongs, how would you approach that? How would you teach someone how to do gongs? Not how would you teach how we teach, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
If our teaching style resonates with you, then cool, but we want you to find your own voice within this practice, right? So we're giving you all the information from our perspective, which you're still with us, you're learning from us, so it's probably it resonates with you, right? It's maybe your perspective a little as well, but we want you to expand and now make that your perspective. So we want, and then you're either going to Zoom teach or come in person, and you will teach that from your perspective. You know what I mean? So, so part of that program, we're kind of developing like, okay, we want to give you guys all the information, but that's not really helping you find your own voice within that information. So, so hopefully we talked yesterday that we have a few more things to hammer out in level 3, if as far as what we want that, because we want it to be a seamless transition. And right now it's just not. And
Okay.
Nick has kind of gotten some of this where we grew very quickly and we had to change and evolve things. And now we're doing that now. So the one thing that I love about how this program has always been, even since I was a student, is if something's not working, we will shift it around to make it work. We're not going to just stay in a space where this just isn't working and it doesn't feel like it's working well enough for the students. So we're always going to switch things up if it's not working, because we're not going to live in that space of this isn't working, but we're just going to plow through. So I think that's what we're kind of discovering right now. So that's not a great answer because you guys don't have access to it. And I know you want access to it, but I am hoping within the next week or so, because now we have Sherry on board. Sherry's really helping with some things. And we really came together this week to really kind of get everything together as to what everybody's doing. And so I think it will be probably like a week or so before that's really, solidified in there. But I believe you will get an email that says like level 3 is open and here you go and all of that. So, and I have access into the portal. I couldn't get into the Learn Worlds portal for a while as an administrator, so I couldn't see what you guys were putting in there. So Bill was actually going in and grading everybody's stuff and all of that. So I'm sorry about that. I now can get in there. I have figured it out. So, so it'll just go forward. And we're trying to figure out, we also want you guys to be doing, we need some accountability in there, right? So we're not just gonna say, oh, you're a master because we want you to be teaching classes a little bit. Like, to master this, we need to know that you can teach these classes. And then also for the lower programs, we're going to put on that you have to complete so many group sound baths and private sound baths to move forward. Because really, I don't know about you guys, but when I left when I took the class, I was a little overwhelmed when I got home. And sometimes when I'm in that overwhelmed space, I just throw my hands up and walk away. I don't know how long it would have taken me to do a sound bath, but because I knew I wanted to teach with Bill and I wanted to do that master program, it forced me to get out there and do it, because he required that I did at least 6 group sound baths before I even came in to observe and teach with him. So it really did help me get out there. And I honestly don't believe that you can teach if you're not doing. Right. How can you teach someone group and private sound baths if you haven't done group or private sound baths? I learn so much from every sound bath I do, that how can you be a teacher if you're not practicing the things you're teaching? So I think we're going to start putting in requirements for that too, where you have to do so many group and so many private, because I think if you want to get into that learning space, we want to know that you have done enough to come into that learning space. So things are shifting a little. I don't know if that's going to apply to you guys because you've been in the program for a while. We also know you're out there doing things. You 2, you 3, we know what you're doing. So, but I think, so you'll see some shifting there, but just in case, anybody asks you or whatever, we're shifting and moving things around so it just flows a little bit easier for you guys and for us. And eventually I think we're going to consolidate some things down into that Learn Worlds portal so that you guys could access the Zoom links for our meetings and all of that stuff.
That'd be awesome.
It's a work in progress. I know that's not always the best answer. And when the snafus happen, we do apologize for that. That's never our intent. And if communication gets missed or someone doesn't get back to you, that honestly, it is not the space that we want to come from. So, just know that we have grown and we're feeling that, and we are putting things in place to help that and to help the school grow and be be what we want to be, because these programs we think are important and beautiful, and we've worked really hard to get them out there. So you know,
Sure.
thank you for hanging in there with us, all of you guys, and thanks for
we,
being
we,
great students and people and all of that.
we see you guys out there. You guys are like, expanding and like, and sharing with so many different people in so many different states, and just like it's
Yeah.
incredible. And I know that
Which
just
we really didn't, I have to say, last May, I opened up my business. We weren't traveling like this last May. Like we just weren't. I
Right.
opened up my business and it was like, oh, we traveled every now and then, but it exploded in a way that we couldn't even possibly have comprehended, right? So,
Right.
you know, it just goes to that. The universe was like, no, 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 you're thinking too small. No, 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 you guys
I
need to
know.
travel. Get out there.
And I can only speak for myself. I think like build he always mentioned about the intention, right? So you guys have the
Mhm.
intention to do better and improve the
Yeah.
learning and the teachings, and just like and I feel it, just like I know, just if I send an email or text and I don't hear from you guys, I know you guys are out there, and you get back to me when you can.
Yeah. But we would like you to send a message and actually have someone get back to you.
Right,
So,
right.
so, you know, I mean, that's the ultimate. So,
Right.
so yeah, so, you know, I just want you guys to know that we're on it. We hear that sometimes. So,
Quick question about level 3. We also going to be meeting in person, right? For level 3, like level 2 and level 1. Are we just doing like a
well,
in person?
we're trying to
Class?
consider that maybe, yes. And also, you know, we're hoping that people can come in person to teach, because we would like you
Right.
to sit in and observe. We would like you to also teach. So then we're sitting there and we could actually kind of put our 2 cents in, or like, you know, whatever, just in case there's something that maybe we feel like you didn't cover. So yeah. And I think we're traveling around enough that that can happen. But if there's ever a time where a student can't travel to us because it's just too hard, you know, this Zoom box right here,
Right.
Zoom
Right.
can always make it so we can turn the you know, a screen around. You can teach the class. I actually taught a Georgia class once from here to Zoom, and it's a little bit weird, but it gets the
It
job
is,
done,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're
I
live
know.
and whatever. So we're trying to, we would really like you to be in person, because we'd like to meet you, and we'd like, you know, if it's someone we've never met in person or whatever. But also it is nice to learn in person, because then you can kind of feed off of
Right.
each other and you get an idea of maybe where you would want that information to flow. But we do have options that if that's not possible, you know, we can make that happen. Technology is as such, and might not be super technologically, but we're getting there, and you know, we're working on it. So yeah, so that would be and really, we also want to bring in this observation space, right? So when I first started teaching, before I even taught at all, I went to Fort Lauderdale for 3 or 4 weekends and just sat and observed. Now, we're not going to ask you to observe for 500 weekends and sit and just, but we can do that via Zoom as well. So basically, you would just log in via Zoom, and you would just, and it sounds like paint drying on the wall, I know, but you would sit and observe. But you're going to be sitting and observing from a teaching perspective instead of a student perspective, because the last time you took our class, you were students. So you were coming at it from a student perspective. So with level 3, we would want you to observe from that teaching perspective. So really honing in on how we're teaching and how that goes. And so I don't know what that's going to look like, but again, we can do that via Zoom too, because it wouldn't be a 2-way conversation. You would legit just be sitting and observing. But if you had the chance to come in person, then you could put your 2 cents in, and you could kind of, you know, interact if you wanted to, and not just sit at home and like observe. But you know, the observation, I feel like that really, really helped me a lot. It really, because you hear the information again and again, but you also get to see how it all flows together. And because it's a lot of information. I just taught a class in Lakeland. I had a co-teacher, but I was teaching it mostly myself. It's a lot of information. By the end of the day, I was like, my brain is full and I already know this stuff. I can't even. So, you know, the teaching aspect of it is there's a lot of information in there. And we just want you to start looking at this now in level 3 from a teaching perspective instead of a student perspective. So level 3 kind of shifts that into, you are now potentially wanting to teach. And this is where we're approaching it from now. And hopefully you've been out there enough facilitating sound baths and working with people that makes sense to you. And then, we give you some information, but then we also want you to, do some research and explore on your own the information that resonates with you out of those instruments and out of those things. So yeah, we're going to expect a lot from you, you guys.
I wouldn't mind be traveling to Florida and Texas. I just have to justify that to my wife. Say, listen, I'm gonna get a mini RV. I have to learn these teachings. I'll be on the road for the next 2 months. I'll see you when I see you.
See you later.
Stay with the kids.
Yeah.
I'll send you some.
Yeah. I have to go to Florida for observation.
Yeah.
I'll be back. See you later. I'm going to observe.
Before you go, I'd like to try something to see if it'll work.
Sure.
And I have my camera on. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? Can't hear that.
No.
Can't hear it?
Nope.
No.
Could hear the first one.
So that's a 256. This is a 512.
Can hear the 512, but
Uh-huh.
not the 256.
384.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to play with my microphone, and I like to use it a little bit with Zoom. Yeah, I've been playing with. I have the amethyst tip, and
I love it.
I use it's just my wife's finger that she has rheumatoid arthritis, and this finger locks. So I kind of have my little block, and I hit it, and I put it on there, and it actually opened up. It was a little slower. I'm gonna try to do it every week, and then the selenite. This is really powerful to put it on there. And I was telling Bill, we talked about last night. I kind of do this.
Oh yeah. Oh.
The throat, right on the chakras. And I'll tell you what, you can really
Is
feel
that is that the amethyst?
This is just a plain one, but the amethyst too. This is more of a pinpoint rose quartz.
Yeah.
Not as much, but definitely the amethyst. When you hit it.
I love it.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Now, do you leave the selenite plate and activate it with the tuning fork? Or do you just put the selenite plate on there?
You can hit it.
Yeah, and then activate it through the...
It goes right through it, and it disperses it.
Yes.
And even a smaller singing bowl the same way. But I just was really curious how that would sound.
I love
love this microphone.
Oh, cool. I love it. Well, good. Okay, well, I've kept you guys long enough. It's 10:20, so we should probably go. But thank you. I don't have any idea what we're going to talk about next week, but I'll send it out to you, let you know. Maybe something equally as weird. Let's see what we can do on the weirdness scale on. Is there anything that you guys want to hear more about maybe for next week? If think on it, let me know.
Yeah. Sure.
Shoot me a message if you feel like you have a burning something you want to talk about. Same goes for you, Miss Nick. If you have anything you want to talk about next week, shoot me a message and we can do that.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you two in Clearwater.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.